Cool. All right. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for the mix-up. If anybody joined at 12, I had a mishap with the scheduling, so I apologize about that. But I promise it'll be worth the wait. I'm so happy to have David with us today. David Trefiro, right?
Yeah.
I knew I was
Got
gonna
it.
mess up. I should have just
You
said,
practice 6 times, and then the one time it's live.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So David Trefiro is here. He is great guy. I met him a few months ago at a local chamber event, and we had a lot in common. We're both kind of tech nerds, and
Yeah.
I, I love. And one of the most interesting things I love is whenever I show up to these events, and I haven't gotten the courage to it yet, but David's always the one guy in shorts, kind of in sandals and stuff.
Not sandals. I
Oh
would wear
yeah, I guess maybe
yeah,
not sandals,
short. Yeah.
but I haven't gotten that brave yet, so I'm hoping to get to that point. But David, so you started layer 2 computers when you were 18. That's right? That's amazing.
Yeah. So I legally created the business when I was 18 years old, when you can. Before then, I was just helping friends and neighbors and stuff with IT support. And, I'm like, you know what? I got an internship out of high school at another company. We'll keep them nameless.
Yeah,
And I determined that the corporate world was not for me. So
yeah.
I started a company and wanted to work for myself. And
Wow, that's amazing.
I was at 18. I'm 36 now, so the rest is kind of a big story in history. But yeah, I
Wow.
love it. It's fun. Business ownership is crazy and it's a roller coaster, but it's good. And
Yeah, and
IT,
you also own a gym too, right?
yeah. So me and my wife, well, I guess I always play long games here. So I started at the gym when I was about 8 years old,
Yeah.
and was there, and then started working when I was 14, cleaning floor, vacuuming stuff, and then the gym became for sale, and I wasn't at a point where I could buy it. So my parents kind of cashed out retirement, got some loans, they bought the
Yeah.
business, and then the goal was that me and my wife would buy it once they retired. And so
Wow.
that happened in January of 2023. So me and my wife are about a year and a half into owning the business, and
That's
yeah,
cool.
gymnastics and kids activities and all sorts of fun stuff. So never a dull moment.
Is it so? Yeah, it's like I think I asked you this before, but it's got to be interesting, kind of owning two totally different businesses, right? I mean, one's in the technology, one's in fitness, and so
Yeah,
it's got
kids
to be
activity
pretty
stuff.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting because I bring technology to the gym, and then the energy of the gym comes to the IT stuff.
yeah,
Layer
that's
two.
great.
So,
Oh,
it's
that's
fun. I like it.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
Keeping
tell me
the
about what you guys do. So I
yeah.
understand kind of I've worked with some partners similar to you, and it adds just a tremendous amount of value to I'd call them small to mid businesses. So
Yeah.
maybe tell me more about kind of what why do people call on you guys, and kind of maybe more about what it's like to work with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of times a business, anywhere from we some IT companies don't take like really small companies, like a 1 or 2 person environment.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I've been there and I have been in companies that have been there, and I kind of like that stuff. So we will literally take customers on whether like your printer in your home office isn't working, all the way up to our biggest customer is about
Yeah.
200 employees. So
Yeah.
we scale anywhere in between. Our average customer probably has 10 to 15 employees, but people mostly interact with an IT guy when something breaks. So my internet's not working, my computer won't turn on. It's always those types of like something breaks, we fix it.
Yeah.
And then from there, it really kind of opens up to like, well, wait, that's really ancient, and that's what's really causing the problem. And your symptom is your computer's not working, or your network's not working, or your Wi-Fi's not good. So then it kind of like there was a really big establishment in the late 2000s and kind of 2010s where everyone was getting this really good stuff. Well, all of that stuff is now having issues. And
Oh yeah.
so, there's a lot of replacing old technology, new software has different requirements. And then of course it goes lateral into cybersecurity and email deliverability. I just had a meeting with someone
Yeah.
today about why are their emails going to spam, stuff like that. So,
Right. So kind of all over the board, but I mean, it's got to
yeah.
be super valuable for these companies that,
Mhm.
every company obviously needs technology, but I mean, it just seems like you fit that gap of like, they're trying to run their business. They're not necessarily wanting to,
Yeah.
mess with the technology. They call you guys and you guys kind of take care of it, and they're on their way, right?
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to. People want to do what their business is set to do. Like a law firm doesn't need to practice IT; they practice law. So we come in and we do the IT for them. We do work for all sorts of different companies, manufacturing. We have lawyers, environmental cleanup, logistics, full gamut.
Yeah.
Uh, it's fun, and I love seeing everyone's different industries and seeing how we can streamline, automate, connect things, and which I know you do a lot of too, is
Yeah,
making
that's
data
exciting.
beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Mm.
We were joking before we came on about the old SNL skit, the that I think you pulled up. I
Yeah.
forgot how funny those were. I rewatched some of them with I guess it was Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yeah.
But do you guys ever get? I'm sure like some people like have that bad connotation of
Oh,
For those of you who haven't seen it,
MIT.
look it up. It's a really funny. It's called My Company Computer Guy, I guess, but it's
Yeah, I think so. We'll put a link in the comments somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, that's great. But he basically Jimmy Fallon, like he'll, somebody's frustrated and then eventually they, move.
Move, and then he just pushes them out of the way and takes their keyboard.
So I'm
So,
guessing that's not you
yeah.
guys.
No,
So
not us. We focus a lot as layer two computers on bringing the human into IT. So we're people and we are talking to people. We're not talking to an automated system. It's important that, you're a person and you have thoughts, feelings, opinions, and maybe you broke it, maybe you didn't. Who knows? Who cares? Our goal is to solve the problem. So,
yeah, yeah.
and a
Exciting.
lot of times people can't explain even what the problem is other than it broke. And that's okay. We can handle that. So,
Right. It's like, yeah, you'll figure it out. Yeah. So tell me, I mean, we covered some of this, but I mean, what do you think as far as like small, mid-sized business owners? What do a lot of them struggle with, or what of them, obviously you're going to have, some hardware failures and stuff, but maybe give
yeah.
us a little bit more about what kind of things you help solve, or what do they come to you guys for?
Yeah, definitely. So we see right now, I hate using buzzwords and stuff, but like the
Okay.
cybersecurity stuff is obviously really important right now. And
Yeah.
and we've seen the age old of email account compromises, or the story of I got an attachment and I clicked on it and it ate my computer.
Oh
That
yeah.
doesn't happen nearly as often as it comes out to be, but it could. But
Yeah. Yeah.
cybersecurity is big. Backups are something that people don't think about, but then when you need
Yeah.
it, you're like, oh my gosh, I should have had that.
Right. Right.
Or we have a company that does they do car decals and stuff like that, like they're the
Yeah.
vinyl, and they just needed kind of some consulting to help figure out how to streamline their operations for moving these giant data files around. Because
Yeah.
they're a local company, but they work nationally with designers and graphic artists, and they just need an efficient way to move things.
Yeah. Wow. So kind
You
of a
know,
consultative approach. So it's
yeah.
more than just, hey, my printer's broken. I mean, that's part
Oh,
of it, but I mean, it sounds like it's also like, hey, look at what we're doing technology wise. Can you make it better? Those kind of things.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, like, let's just sit down and look at everything, and when someone's telling me about how they do something, I got, like, light bulbs going off left and right, and I'm like, "Oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this," but we gotta
Yeah.
break it down to a list and then actually tackle it.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
like, something that's funny is, like, after your company gets to, like, let's say, like, 10 employees or even 15,
Okay.
you need to start automating a lot and getting things to happen smoother when it comes to IT. So, like, adding printers automatically. No one wants to spend 3 hours, setting up a computer.
Yeah.
So, for our biggest customers, we've spent a lot of legwork up front. And then when they hire a new employee, we create their email account, and then we sit down with them, we log in their computer with them a lot of times, and then
Yeah.
it does everything else. It loads their printers, it loads the files, it loads the shares, it
Yeah.
loads the groups, like all that
Wow.
cool automation we can do. So,
That's really impressive. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would say that some of the companies I've worked with, like I said, I've worked side by side with some people that do kind of
yeah,
what you do, and it's so valuable because, like, obviously a lot of places have
yeah,
turnover, people leave, they
yeah,
come,
of
and
course.
like
Yeah,
to like if you're the owner and you're trying to,
yeah,
manage all that, I mean, it's a headache when somebody comes in and you got to set
yeah,
everything up, or you got to, recommission a PC or have I
yeah,
mean, it's
back in stuff.
invaluable.
Yeah,
Um,
and just streamlining that. I mean, we went into a company when they were like 30 employees, and the CEO of this pretty big multi-million dollar company was still deploying users' computers. I was like, no, we're gonna put an end to that. So the next day, once we got working together, I was like, first one, I'm taking it back off.
Right. And then remove his permissions.
Yeah.
No, probably not. But
Yeah.
let's
No.
dig into a little bit of the cybersecurity, because I know I went to a presentation that you gave. Just maybe, I guess, just from a layman's point of view. I mean, from my point of view, it sounds like obviously it's preventing bad actors online from doing
Yeah.
things to your network and your. But just maybe
Yeah.
talk more about that, and what are some simple things I guess everybody could do that they're
Yeah.
not maybe.
Oh, definitely. So cybersecurity is fascinating to me. And the way we look at cybersecurity at layer two is kind of like an onion. So onions have layers, and then
Right.
inside the
Ogres
onion
do
you have your
too,
data.
right? No, I'm kidding.
Yes, exactly.
From Shrek. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Yep. So we, you have your data and your important files in the middle, and then what can we do to help keep it secure and
Yeah.
prevent it? And we, whether anyone will tell you this or not, anyone can be hacked. If my honest assumption is, if the Pentagon or giant Fortune 100 companies or Microsoft has been hacked, in the
Yeah.
past year, things like that, everyone can get hacked. So it's not
Yeah.
a matter of really if, it's kind of a when. And the statistics have proven over and over again that small businesses are targets because they're easy.
Yeah.
And so we layer on different kind of modules of security. So obviously, good passwords and
Yeah.
password hygiene. Don't have a file on your computer that says passwords and throw them all in there. Use a
Right.
password manager is great.
Okay.
Also, most hacks nowadays are being triggered from a phishing email. So you get an email that looks like Microsoft, and then it turns out
Yeah.
it's not, but you still typed in your credentials. So
Right.
making sure that the URL that you're clicking on is actually where you should be.
Yes.
The attachments, stuff like that. I mean, the low hanging fruit is really passwords and phishing emails, and just learning how to gauge and figure
Yeah.
out what's good and what's bad.
I think you said too, like the number one thing you kind of do is two-factor, right? Two-factor
Yeah, two-factor
authentication.
authentication is huge because, what it does is, you have your phone, and then you type in your username, your password, and then it sends you a message, a text, or a little one-time code in your app or something.
Yeah.
That's really big. Firewalls are important. Obviously, it's just another layer, but you're not going to set up a firewall.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a combination of like, education and and some technology that can help prevent it.
yeah,
is-
and we're actually we're doing a presentation for one of our companies that we do work for is a software vendor, and they're like computer comfortable people because they're writing
yeah,
software.
yeah.
But we're coming in there and just kind of talking about general cybersecurity hygiene, and like what everyone's little part can be to help, because they're talking different systems and doing different things. But we're just going to come in and I'll do a brief presentation for 30 minutes and just talk to their employees, and it'll be conversation. It's not going to be you do this. We're not that type of thing, because ultimately
No.
I can do everything in my power as an IT company to stop the hackers. But if you click on something, I can't stop you from doing something.
Right. Yeah. No, that's hugely valuable. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I remember too, one thing that you pointed out with backups too, was
Mhm.
like, cloud backups. It's kind of your responsibility that was kind of enlightening to me, because I was like, oh crap, I probably should you were
Check 'em.
saying that you've kind of, even if you use Google Drive or one of those other ones,
Mhm.
you really should have backups of it, because
Yeah.
things can happen, right?
Yeah, Google lost data, I think, like a year and a half ago. I think it was a whole hospital's data. They oopsied and lost it, and it was bad.
Oh,
There were no
wow.
backups.
Wow.
Um,
So that's
so
important. Let's shift a little bit to the
Mhm.
cloud. And I guess just for some of our listeners that might not know, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people know what the cloud is. My one friend had I think the best definition of it, where he said it's basically someone else's computer on the internet.
Yes. Exactly.
So it's not, I think a lot of people get intimidated by
Mhm.
technology and stuff. But I mean, what's your guys' experience? Have you guys been helping a lot of people with cloud-based things, or just tell me
Yeah.
what your experience has been?
Yeah, definitely. So, the image of like a server sitting in your closet, that still exists. It's still a thing, but
Mhm.
Um, there are definitely advantages to going to a cloud environment, but for some smaller businesses, the costs might be an issue. But after you kind of reach a certain threshold, which it depends on each business where that is, it may or may not makes sense. And when
Yeah.
it does, the good things for the cloud is you're exactly right. It's a computer in someone else's room. But the good thing is you don't have to maintain that computer. Microsoft or Amazon or whatever cloud provider you use, or Google, maintains the physicalness of it, and then you just have to worry about the software side of it. So there's definitely some pros to that.
Right.
We see a pretty 50-50 split. Once a company reaches a certain point, it makes sense, because no matter whether you're using that computer or not, you're still paying for it for the most part. There's obviously some pricing adjustments we can do, and you can do reservist instances, which kind of prepay. So you're committing to it for like a year, 3 years, or whatever. But we can save some money that way. It depends on what the needs are, and honestly, most companies, small business, even up to our biggest customer, they didn't have a server in their environment until they like a cloud Azure, Microsoft Azure environment, until they reached like 150 users, because we were just using standard Microsoft 365 tools. You can use Google tools. There's a lot of things built in that may be able to accomplish what most companies need before they need a physical server.
Okay, and that stuff is, I mean, that's still cloud, right? Like Microsoft 360, Office 365.
Yes.
I mean, that's still cloud, right? I mean, it's
all cloud.
It used to be back in the day, right? You had to set up a physical Exchange server.
Yeah, the small business server back in the day. Yep.
Wow. So that's
those are fun. We did a migration from a physical cloud server, or a physical server, to Microsoft 365, and it's a process, but it's well worth it, and the company's ecstatic because now they don't have to maintain it. They don't have to. Their costs are cheaper. It's just it depends on what the server is doing, but sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. We'll talk to you about it.
Yeah, that's great.
And price analysis. It's fun.
Yeah, it's because in my experience, I've used it quite a bit for some of my clients, and usually it's not a, if it gets to the point where it's servers and stuff like that, I'll have someone like yourself or somebody else set it up, but I'll do stuff like setting up a database or some of the services like that. But I don't usually get into like the whole anything more than that. But it's super convenient for like, hey, I need a database. I need to, you can, a few clicks and you have something. I mean, back in the day, it used to be, you'd have to submit a ticket, call someone, they'd have to install it, they find it in the server to install it on. I mean, it's, it has been, there's definitely pros and cons with it, but it's, obviously it's not going away, and it's, it's
the really cool thing about the cloud environments are the uptime is generally better. Because you don't have to worry about your own internet connection. You don't have to have a backup internet connection. If it's doing email, because if your email server goes out, you're kind of stuck. But having things in the cloud, it's good. Generally a good practice to do when you can. So
so it sounds like, I mean, you'll meet with people and you'll kind of evaluate what makes sense, and it sounds like, I mean, that's a good approach, not to just say, hey, everything has to be there, or everything doesn't. It sounds like the middle ground is probably the best.
It's extremely customized to whatever people need, because sometimes we'll use QuickBooks as an example. Everyone knows QuickBooks. The QuickBooks Cloud sometimes doesn't do the things that the QuickBooks Desktop does for business.
Correct. Yeah.
And so what do? You could do a cloud-hosted QuickBooks Desktop version, which one of our customers does that, because they have 30 accountants hitting, a server. And so it doesn't make sense to do it locally. But
that's right. I have a client that's done that exact thing, or very similar, because they still use the desktop, but then you have multiple people using it. So I think they have it on a server. That's Thanks for pointing that out. Because that's always a contention point. Do you find, I guess that's off topic a little bit, but have you found a lot of people still use the desktop versus online?
It depends on the size of the company, I think. And, it's definitely kind of a can of worms to talk about QuickBooks potentially. But, one thing that QuickBooks is doing is that they're pricing small businesses out of their desktop version, so they're forcing them to the cloud. But the big businesses that still need or want that, they're going to stick with it, because the pain to move is rough. To move your whole accounting system for a $100 million company is a little more rough than, a onesie twosie.
Right. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I can understand why they're trying to do that, but it's it's a
Yeah.
lot of friction with that. So,
Yeah.
just one last topic I want to talk to you about with AI. Everybody's obviously that's the buzz, and what's your experience been with it? Have clients been
Yeah.
embracing it? Have you been helping work with clients on it, or tell me what's been going on that you've seen?
Yeah. So we get a lot of questions about it. People are still very weary of it. It's
Mhm.
becoming more accepted, I think, in businesses now. And whether people realize it or not, they've interacted with AI content, whether it be written or even voiceovers can be AI
Oh
generated.
yeah.
Videos getting to the point to where it like looks normal. Um,
Right. I'm
you
not
know,
actually here right now, by the
yeah.
way. Just no, I'm
I know
kidding.
exactly. You're
This
you're
is
sitting
an
on the beach
AI.
in Hawaii, right? With an avatar. um, but and then the thing that we are utilizing a lot and what we're seeing our customers utilize is kind of the augmented help within your company. So you need to write emails, you need to do scheduling, you need to write some content for your blog, or you
Yeah.
need to help whip up a PowerPoint presentation. Microsoft and all other cloud providers, they have really great tools. Um, the Microsoft Copilot one is really fascinating because it ties into your whole ecosystem if you're in that world,
Yeah. I
and it
did
can kind
just
of pull
recently get that not
data.
too long ago. I'm kind
Yeah,
of a newbie with it, but yeah, go
yeah.
on with
I think we're all newbies with it, to be honest with you.
it.
Some people are a little more, using it more, but
Yeah.
it's been fascinating. A couple of our companies reached out. I've been starting to talk about it a little bit more when I meet with our customers on our
Yeah.
reoccurring meetings. It's interesting. I think a lot of people are gonna, as they become more comfortable, they'll start being like, "Oh, I can have it help with that," or, "Huh, I can have it
Yeah.
analyze this little data set and give me a couple bullet points I need to look at."
Yeah.
Things like that. And once it's all about how you kind of talk to the AI. They say be nice
Mhm.
to it, so always say please. Um,
That's right. Mind
don't
your
be the
manners.
baby.
Uh, uh,
But yeah, small businesses are starting to adapt it. We have a country club customer of ours that's using it kind of internally and just helping with some business processes and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's interesting. It's a cool concept. I can't wait to see as it evolves because you have to think we're only 2 years into it being
Right.
mainstream.
I
It's crazy.
know, it's unbelievable. I mean, I was definitely resistant it at times, and I'm embracing it more.
Mhm.
Like I said, I got the Copilot license, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. I mean, I know there's other ones that do the same kind of thing, but
Yeah.
the stuff that it gives you after a meeting, the synopsis, and
Oh,
that
it's
stuff's
awesome.
unbelievable. I guess too. I've never tested this out, but talked to someone else, and they said like if you come late to a meeting, it'll actually, like,
You give
catch
you
you
questions.
up
Yeah.
before, like, so you know what happened, and then people are, like, astonished, like, "How did you know?" Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I heard you were talking about"
Yeah.
so I haven't
The AI heard my
experienced.
name. Yeah, I mean, it'll summarize, like, action points for people. You can ask it questions about the meeting, and it will kinda, like, use the context to it's really fascinating, it's really cool. I'm excited to see it happen. I
Yeah,
don't we're not at a point where AI is gonna, like, where AI overlords are gonna step in next tomorrow. That we're not at that point yet, but, maybe
right.
eventually, I don't know.
What I see happening, see tell me if you've seen this, but I remember back, I was at a, LexisNexis big company, and I remember kind of when all the Google the sheets and all that stuff came out, and basically,
Yeah.
the IT, they freaked out and they shut everything down and nobody could use it, and eventually they had to ease it up because they were worried about the security and stuff. I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of still happening where
With
maybe
AI,
it's
yeah.
some of it's misinformation, but some of it's probably true. But when you do, you pull up ChatGPT, and if you put some real proprietary thing in there,
Yeah. It's
you're
fed into the
basically
algorithm
exposing
and
it to the world, right? Because they can use it for
yeah.
training, and
Yeah.
but I don't know if you've experienced that yet. But
Yeah.
that's kind of, I think that's what it seems like most businesses are trying to navigate, is how do you make this accessible to people,
Yeah.
but like, because locking it all down isn't probably the answer.
No.
But then making it where there's no guardrails is kind of, so I feel like that's where all these companies are kind of jockeying for position to try
Yeah,
to solve
manage
that.
it privately, but still be usable. Well, and most of the time, well, and this is with any product on the internet, if it's free, you're the thing being sold.
Yeah,
And so
very true.
in Microsoft, I know just speaking from Microsoft world, when you pay for their like Copilot license within your Microsoft world, it keeps your data within itself.
Right.
is what they say. And I do believe that,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean, otherwise, how could they get banks and governments to be utilizing these services?
Correct.
So, I mean,
Correct.
I think they are keeping it very contained within the Microsoft side of things, from what I can tell and what I've read and everything.
Yeah.
But if
I
you're
would
using
agree.
just like OpenAI's Chat GPT functionality, technically, even if you're paying for it, it's actually still being put into their training data. You have to opt out of it to be submitted to training data, even if you're paying for a license, from what I
Right.
covered. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I understand
it's,
too. So it's kind of a fine line to walk, but yeah, I think no matter what, it's going to affect everybody.
yeah,
So we kind of have to
it's
be
everywhere, so you might as well get used to it, and let's just figure out how to use it.
but yeah, well, David, it was so great to talk to you. Trying to think, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you kind of want
Hmm.
to kind of bring to anybody's attention that, small, medium businesses face with
Well, you know
technology?
what? Why don't you talk about you for a second? Because I
Oh,
know what you do, but yeah, tell the world what you do while we're
oh, well,
talking.
thanks. Yeah, so I help people. I tell people that I help businesses grow by improving their reporting and analytics. So that's kind of why David and I have struck up kind of this friendship. Is I feel like we complement each other. So
Mhm.
I don't do all that stuff David talks about. I don't do that. And I don't have a desire to, but I kind of, so I love working with small businesses or medium-sized businesses that want, that have this data. They don't know what to do with it, or they're spending a bunch of time, they have some reports that they have to do as part of their business,
Mm,
or part of their they're offering to their clients. They're
yeah.
spending a bunch of manpower. We can automate that, kind of what you were talking about with, automation is probably one of the biggest
Mm,
things, and I would say consolidating against platforms. So, like you were saying, I'm sure you see this more than anybody, but all the businesses, you have these different silos, right? You have your
yeah.
QuickBooks, you have your CRM, maybe Salesforce, or, and almost every business has some, industry
Mhm.
specific thing, either some homegrown, a lot of homegrown
Yeah,
stuff, or,
that's
and
true.
you're kind of like, you can't get the answer. Um,
Like connecting
yeah,
everything. It's not connected, it's individual.
right. So like one of my first clients, they approached me at saying, hey, the sales reps are saying, this is what, I'm just making these numbers up, but say, the deal is $1,000. My CRM says $1,000, but the QuickBooks says, 700, what happened?
Mm,
And, first of all, without even having, if you don't have some kind of way to connect those, you don't even know the difference between, you
yeah.
just see the $700 on one side and the 1,000 on the other. But if you don't even know that there's a difference really if you don't have that connection.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what I've done. But Power BI, Tableau are the two biggest products in that platform, but there's a
nice.
lot of them. But yeah, so I help a lot of small to mid-sized businesses with their data. Either they don't know, what to do with it, or they need help automating it. That's kind
Yeah,
of the stuff that I do.
nice.
Yeah, I really
That's
appreciate you
awesome. No, that's
asking.
fascinating. Yeah. I
Uh,
think data, because I run 2 businesses and the third one that I'm starting, little startup,
yeah,
little software venture, but, I think that
nice.
data is mission critical in order to run a streamlined and organization. I mean, we have between both companies, there's roughly like 60 some odd employees, and there's a lot of data moving that as an owner, I'm not in the trenches doing things anymore. And so I want to be able to see the visibility of how's for the gym. I want to see my
Yeah,
enrollment, my new enrollments, um,
yeah.
my lifetime value of enrollments, all that stuff. And in the IT company, I need to see ticket metrics and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So we will be talking at some point in the near future about all
Yeah,
that.
that's exactly, I mean, I love that stuff, and I love, like, it's basically, it's the buzzword is, dashboards and that, like in your car, how so that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
is what we're really good at, but all kinds of other things, digging into, more complex behind the scenes, warehouse and SQL stuff, but yeah, just I love, I think, they say data's the new oil. I know it's some kind of a cliche, but I think it is true. I mean, it's, and especially now with all this, all
Yeah.
these companies and changing their privacy, so it's definitely not going away. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but
Well, and
yeah,
the legislation's not making it go away, so it's gonna be there.
yeah,
All that
definitely. But
data,
yeah,
yeah.
thanks for asking. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, that's what I feel like. That's why I love partnering with someone like you, because we kind of, with a small, mid-sized business, they need technology help. And I guess the part I do is more, I also do some custom software development as well. But
Nice.
I love kind of the, you know, tag team approach. Like, you know, the work that you guys do as a managed service provider is invaluable. I mean, it's so great. I love, like, you know, working with, you know, I almost am scared if I have a client that doesn't have one, just because then I know some of the stuff's going to come to me that you know, is out of my purview. So
that's very, yeah, makes sense. That probably happens, I'm sure.
But yeah, David, thank you so much. What's the best way to get a hold of you? People want to find out more about your company, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, good question. My little, wait, which side is it? Over here. Layer 2 computers.
Yeah, look them up.
Layer 2 computers, call, email, text, whatever, any of the numbers that you see for us, you can call, you can email. There's a support page, or just flag me down. I go to local events when I can, try to be visible in the community, or even stop by the gym and come visit me there. That's fine too. That's Ohio Sports Academy.
Oh yeah. Well, you must be doing something right. I mean, you've been in business for, I can't do the math on, but it's what, 15 years or more or something?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. We'll go with that for now. I don't know.
So you're doing something right. So yeah, if you need help with your any kind
computer
of
IT,
call David and let him know. And but yeah, so nice chatting with you, and we'll be in touch. And thanks everybody for joining us, and stay tuned, and we'll be doing this again.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cool.
I think it's ending.